Welcome, my name's David Bailey and this is a Meaningful Life podcast, and I'm joined today by Andrew Stephen Annunciation, the Cacao King. So we're here to talk about cacao ceremonies, what they are, what the benefits are, and also how you kind of got into this area.
So about 10 years ago, David, I was a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fitness professional. I decided I wanted to kind of have some sort of meaning and purpose in the work that I was doing to earn money in the U.S., the United States. And I was living in Hawaii. I became a fitness director at a hotel. I was facilitating boot camps and fitness boot camps and personal training, and I loved it. I loved being active. I loved being healthy, and that's really what started my journey of this of health and wellness.
Mm.
And so from there, I kind of traveled. I was in my 20s, and I wanted to kind of experience life. So I became friends with the hippies, the backpackers of Hawaii, and I was super inspired by this energy that they brought. They would travel from India and they would be speaking to me in English, but what they were saying, how they were saying it, the energy that I was feeling in their communication, it seemed different than the mundane or the normal societal Western conversations. And this is what really triggered me to kind of my next step from being a personal trainer or fitness professional, was to kind of be this explorer, this adventurer. So I backpacked the US, went around the States, just backpack and by foot. So no car. I didn't
backpack.
Yeah, just backpacking.
Okay.
So I would go to festival to festival, or meeting some people here, and they'd say, "Oh, you want to stay with us for a week?" And then I would go to the next thing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like my pilgrimage, my own personal pilgrimage.
Were you hitching rides or?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And but it was also like, where are you going?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we're going here." I'm like, "Okay." And then they're like, "Well, do you want to come with us?"
Uh-huh.
And there was no real maybe sense of physical destination, but there was this desire for adventure, for exploration, for learning. And from that, I joined a community, lived there for a little bit, moved to Hawaii, and I was super inspired by the spirit of Aloha and sharing on the island, that I wanted to have something for myself to share. So I found out that the Aztecs used cacao as currency. Chocolate, cacao beans as money, as currency. And then I thought, why don't I just give my friends cacao, and it's as if I'm giving them free gold. So when I started giving cacao to my friends, David, it raised the vibe, like not one notch, but 10. And then from there, I went out to a music festival in California, 20,000 people, walking around with a backpack, asking people if they wanted to try some cacao. I've traveled to Central America working with the indigenous, traveling the world doing chocolate making workshops and cacao ceremonies, and teaching people the knowledge that I've learned from the Nobe indigenous people, which is one of the 7 indigenous tribes of Panama.
What was your first introduction into cacao? Because most people just, it's chocolate. Like that's how I think most people view cacao.
I was in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And this man was doing a cacao ceremony. And he said, "Hey, do you want to help me?" And I was like, "Yes, sure."
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this initiation that I don't think at the time I was aware or conscious that it was this initiation. I look back and it's like, this was the moment that I was being initiated to sharing this medicine to other people. And all it took was one person who was, a leader, a sense, and to ask someone, "Hey, do you want to help? Do you want to support me?" And in that state, that's where I really got connected and felt the call to kind of wow, maybe cacao is something that I'm meant to do.
Very cool. Was that a music festival?
Yeah, it was at a music festival. Yeah, it was, I believe it was a Unify Festival in New Mexico. And this was a really potent time for me because I was living in a community, a cult community, for about a year and a half. And I committed my life, gave him all my assets, and was committed to being with them. And then I left about a year and a half. So it was this kind of also soul-searching time for me. It was really crucial time of like, what am I now doing with my life?
Okay, and what was your experience like in the cult community? That's pretty interesting.
Wow, that's I could probably write a book about that experience.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful community. There was things that I really enjoyed about it. Something about being together, working together, raising money together, raising our children together. Really being in this community, like this family, this huge family that's, we have each other's back. Like,
yeah.
I'm here to be selfless. I'm here to serve my brothers and sisters in my family. And that was a beautiful experience. And I'm really grateful for that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people was that?
So in one of the communities that I lived in 3 of the communities. They have communities all around the world. I lived in 3 of them, and also I had visited another one. And there could be anywhere between maybe like 40 people. There could be 40 people in the community, 50, 60.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just imagine, like you're waking up, same people every day. Hey, how's it going? Getting your tea, meeting in a meeting, eating breakfast together, going to work, and just, kind of, it was this synergy, you feel this synergistic energy, and it's not just about, what am I doing today? It's like, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
And that I feel is such a amazing component, especially in a world that we live in that's so surrounded and sourced about independence.
Yeah, and I think that is more how we would naturally have been living in small tribal communities where the individual was less important than the group.
Yeah.
And in the West especially, and there's been many benefits to elevating the individual status, like in terms of individual freedoms and freedom of expression, but yeah, if you look at human evolution, we grew up in small tribes.
Totally.
And I presume when you say work, it would have been like working the land or producing food or housing or something like that, right?
So there was different cottage industries. So we had different cottage industries where even the children would help us.
Oh, cool.
So it's not like the children are just like
sitting around
playing on blocks or like, no, they're actually participating
in
the community. And I personally think that's such a valuable thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
If I was 8 years old and I was doing things, and then when I'm 20, 30, 40 years old, I'm going to have this strong foundation.
You're learning about responsibility and also the ability to actually make a difference and not just rely on adults.
Right.
Yeah. So from that, you went to this, or you got invited to help out in this cacao ceremony.
Yeah.
What is cacao ceremony? Because I know some people watching won't know what that is.
I get this question a lot, and I think I can answer it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
To keep it simple, what I learned was from the Nobe indigenous people, like I said before, which is one of the 7 indigenous tribes of Panama. The Cacao King or the Cacao Shaman prepares a place for the people, and they drink cacao, David, all night long until the morning. No food, no water, just cacao.
Okay.
And this cacao ceremony is used to help heal the sick and to get rid of evil spirits within the community. And now in modern day science, we now know that cacao is one of the most antioxidant-rich foods on the planet, which means that it gets rid of free radicals, which means that it may help cure cancer.
Yeah.
And the second thing, it's also known as an antidepressant, or it's good for depression. It's a natural mood enhancer. So it works with your cannabinoid system. I've also heard, I don't know much of the research, but I try to look this up, but I also heard that it can release DMT. DMT?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And the thing is, for me, when I actually did a cacao ceremony where I drank cacao and then did breath work after and did a sound healing, I was seeing things. It was like I saw this like Aztec entity like full on, and I was like, that was like one of the first experiences where I did cacao and breath work together, and I was like, okay, there's something going on here. And as people may know who have done ceremonies or plant medicines, you know, I think it's these plant medicines that help pull the depths of us to the surface, things that like our emotions, maybe something that's been stagnant or something that we've been suppressing, to help bring out so it can move, so we can be free. So, you know, emotions, energy in motion. So we want these emotions to kind of release and kind of be free. So they're not just there and then all of a sudden illness, disease.
Yeah, they're not
forms.
being suppressed.
Exactly. And then also I feel like it's also able to kind of see, you know, in different realms, different dimensions, and maybe either explore and kind of maybe gather some information and knowledge about how can we help humanity, you know? Because I think the main thing is doing ceremonies, doing plant medicine is how can I better myself, and how can this information help better humanity?
Yeah, I know you people talk about chocolate elevating your mood because I think it creates chemicals which raise your emotions. So there's that aspect, and then the cathartic aspect that you spoke about. And I think something else which I believe is very powerful is just the coming together with an intention, and honouring that and spending time to actually consider things beyond just the mundane day-to-day, because a lot of us are just busy paying bills, looking after the kids, just getting to the next thing. We don't spend time to either reflect on what's happened or look forward, and that like is really the role of I believe like religion in like the ceremonies that you take part in, like in a church or a mosque or a temple. Like often they are to reflect or to look forward, like the true meaning, not just like believing in some story, but like the actual I believe the practical benefit of them was to consider, like reflect on who you are and how you can become a better person. And so that in itself can be very powerful.
Absolutely.
And what was your experience going to Panama and meeting these indigenous people? Because you mentioned that, like how did that happen? And what was it like?
Wow, so that was 2018, David, and that was the first time I traveled to Panama, to Central America. And within the first few days I got stranded on an island. True story. I landed on an island and the guy was like, yo, hey, you want to do a sunset cruise? And my intention, clear intention, was to go to Panama and to meet a cacao farm. And when I went to this island, hang out with these people, it was like so far away from the intention that I had, you know, gone there for. Well, primarily for the cacao, but I did want to check this place out because it was recommended through a friend. And so I got stranded on an island. We left the island, came back to the other island. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I go back to the mainland of Panama, and then I go to another island. And I'm trying to find out, like, where's the cacao farms? Like, where do I go? Like, where is it? I met this local guy, and he goes, oh, you want to go on a tour? Like, I was like, no, I don't want to go on a tour. I want to hang out with them. I want to talk to them. I want to see how I can support, how I can give. And I think this is the main thing that I love telling people who are interested in business, who are interested in a passion project. For me, what I've found to be true is the key is, what do I have to give? What do I have to offer? How can I support? How can I give? You know, it's not about focusing on what can I get, but what can I give? And when I noticed, David, that I focused on this intention of what can I give, abundance would come to me. And maybe not when I wanted it, or when when the emotions would come up, like, oh, I want abundance, I want financial something. It was this, like, I'm just going to focus on giving. And then when I focused on giving, it was like I'm letting go of this desire, of this wanting, and then abundance would come in different ways, man. Connections, people, invitations. So I would go to this island. This local man asked me, hey, do you want to do the tour? I say no. And I said, yeah, I want to support. And he contacts them, comes back to me, he says, yeah, they'll have you. So I'm excited. I pack up my things. I'm like, I'm gonna go visit this community.
Yeah.
So I go to this ferry boat at this time, no boat shows up. I go to this other boat dock, nothing. I go to the next boat dock, and dude, this is so crazy. The guy, he's wearing a shirt of the name of the community that I'm going to.
Yeah.
And he comes off the boat, and I'm like on the dock waiting to go, and I'm like, hey, like, are you from this community? I'm like on my way there. He goes, come talk with me to my office. So I come and talk to him, like, hey, how's it going? Like, I have this cacao business, and I'm interested in supporting, and what do you do, and blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, maybe you can come stay with us for a couple days. Like, so he was like offering to host me. I was so excited, David, but I was like, let's go. So I got there. I stayed 3 weeks the first time, and the day that I was leaving to go to a festival in Costa Rica, a guy asked me in his indigenous language, or Spanish, how do you feel? And I started crying. And that life, man, such a simple life, being in the jungle, no fans, no AC, some solar panels to help charge your phone, to maybe have a light at night.
Mm-hmm.
But the simplicity and the togetherness, man, it really struck me. Yeah.
So you were living with a community. What was it like there? Like
Wow.
the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And how many people? Like,
Yeah.
can you describe it a little bit?
Yeah. So when I first stayed there, I stayed in one of their little family houses, and they build their houses. Some they use cement.
Mm-hmm.
They use palm leaves for the roofs.
Yeah.
They use wood that they chop down themselves. Where they cut the trees, they measure it, and they use a chainsaw to create the lumber.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And are they doing ceremonies themselves as well?
They are doing ceremonies, yeah. So someone will come, say if someone's sick or a baby's sick or something like that, they use the first fruits of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine, it can take about anywhere from 3 to 5 years for a cacao tree to produce its first fruits. And they use those first fruits for the cacao ceremony.
Mm.
So that's kind of like, that's a very special thing,
Yeah. And did you join in some of these ceremonies?
I didn't join in any of the like official ceremonies, but I had a guy kind of reenact a ceremony for me about what they do and like what it's like, and that felt really special for me because this was a family who kind of adopted me, gave me their family name, gave me an indigenous name, and kind of was like trusting me into sharing this knowledge around the world. And I'm still in contact with them today, and yeah, there's a lot of love.
And did that change how you conducted your ceremonies?
I mean, I think with everything, as an individual, I mean, we gain insights and we gain things from something that can, may tweak something or refine something in some way. But for me, what's really important is really to acknowledge these indigenous people in a cacao ceremony.
Yeah. The roots of it.
Yeah, and for me, connection is so important.
Absolutely.
In the ceremony, connection to ourselves, connection to the group,
Yeah.
connection to the divine, connection to the elements, and why not add in that also aspect of the connection to the indigenous people, the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So that wasn't your only trip there, right? That was the first trip.
Yeah, that was my first trip. I went to Costa Rica for a festival, and then I met them at a gathering in Panama called Tribal Gathering. And there's 60 indigenous tribes from around the world that gather in this place, sharing their culture, sharing their medicine. They have plant medicine ceremonies and things like that. It's a really powerful ceremony, and that's when I did a chocolate making workshop with these indigenous people, and I was so honored that they even asked me to do that workshop with them, you know, to share what I learned from their community and to do it with them. It was a big highlight of my life for sure. Yeah.
And so you have your own business, Cacao King. Where do you get your cacao from? Is it from Panama, or like is it grown in Thailand? What's the source of it?
So if you go to cacaoking.com right now, we have two types of cacao. We have an organic cacao grown in Ecuador, which is like known for like their finest. They're known for kind of like the number one top quality cacao. It's called Arriba Nacional cacao, and ours is organic from the indigenous people, and we also have a Peru. So this one is like raw, certified organic that we get it from, and the Peruvian is, I would say, it's a little bit more potent, you know. But the Ecuador is kind of like, I like to consider it like the OG, but it's a really high quality cacao, and I highly recommend that one. And then here now, based in Thailand, we get it from a farm just on the mainland in Prachop Kittikon in Thailand, organic farm. Been there myself, and I have a guy who, a Thai man who helps me process and package it here. So yeah, the quality of cacao for me is very important, because when I want someone to have cacao, I want them to have pure, high quality cacao.
So how are you sharing this experience with people?
So the first thing I'm doing, I'm offering private sessions. So people who are wanting like more one-on-one kind of deeper work, like really to go deep within themselves and to kind of have space held for them. I offer that. If people want to do like, hey, I have like 3 friends or 2 friends that I want to do a cacao ceremony with, just to experience it and kind of open up to that possibility, then I also offer that. Sometimes I do events as well. So sometimes I'll collaborate with, say, like someone who does breath work, someone who does music, someone who does sound healing, and I kind of create a thing where it kind of rolls together, so we kind of have cacao and these other different modalities together. Yeah. One of my favorites though is doing the cacao ceremony, breathwork, and dance. Cool. That's one of my favorite. I mean, cacao is very activating. I love to dance, so maybe that's also.
I know you're a good dancer.
Thank you so much.
I've seen it myself.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And so, and then I also like do retreats and stuff like that. So I recently just did a retreat here in Samui. I had a musician accompany me. We do connection exercises, eye gazing, maybe a little bit more. You can call it tantric, but it's more just connecting. Yeah. Connecting exercises, movement, and focusing on connection. That's a big thing for me.
What does connection mean to you?
Yeah, so for connection for me is what's my relationship with myself? How do I truly know the depths of this human organism and the mind and my spirit and my emotions and the awareness and the feelings? Like, can I feel not only everything inside of me, but at the same time, can I also be aware of you? And maybe the air conditioning and this room and how much space I have. And can I just take a moment to feel that? But really, when I first start connecting with myself from the inner to the outer, I believe that's where we can kind of become whole, be complete, Because if I'm not connected to myself, but I'm trying to connect to someone else, maybe I'm actually looking for what I already have inside of myself towards someone else. But then I start maybe being dependent.
Yeah.
But really the key, I believe, you know, one of the antidotes or the cure of that is just really taking a moment to meditate, to be with myself, to sit, you know, in the uncomfortable feeling, you know, because I don't know about you, but when I first started kind of meditating, kind of sitting with myself, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
very
it is.
uncomfortable.
I think that's one of the misnomers about meditation, like like some peaceful Zen, and like the truth is, like if I think, and this really got highlighted in the COVID pandemic, because when people remove the distractions of having to do the commute, having you know, going out, drinking, partying, whatever, like all of the social engagements, and we're just forced almost into a retreat situation, like literally stay indoors, don't go out. Like this was like a forced silence retreat, some people that were on their own, and it was really uncomfortable because now you're faced with your own thoughts and your own emotions, and you don't have all of these distractions. So absolutely, it's not a comfortable experience for a lot of people, but it's, you know, it's a process. It's not like gonna just stay there forever. If you're willing to face it and work through it and process your feelings and your thoughts, then you kind of move on to the next stage. You're not caught in that thing that you're trying to run away from. So I think it sounds like you're using these ceremonies almost as like a meditation circle to help people come to terms with, face maybe difficult feelings, difficult thoughts. And I know you also sell cacao as well online, and so if people want to get some at home, do you have any guidance on your website when people purchase it, like how to use it, how to, if they want to like do a little ceremony at home, is there any tips or guidance that you give to people?
Yeah, so if you go to the website, on the homepage I have a free PDF so you can read about cacao, and then I also have 2 videos free on YouTube. If you just type in Cacao King, there's one video, how to make ceremonial cacao, and the second one is how to have your own gratitude ceremony. So during my journey of overcoming depression and kind of, you know, going through that and trying to get to a better side of it, I found gratitude, and I learned that gratitude is the healthiest human emotion, and I use that, you know, a lot in my overcoming depression and kind of having a positive mental attitude. But then I said, why not combine the healthiest human emotion with one of the most healing plants on the planet, cacao? And then I just started doing that, and I just started seeing the effects of, you know, people, you know, response, and like, you know, tears and crying and like opening up. And you know, I think as a human, and in this human experience, we want to be open.
Oh yeah. We
want to be accepted. We want to see, you know, the divine in other people. You know, we want to see a clear reflection, and you know, I just find that gratitude, it helps open us up. It helps heal.
Beautiful. Yeah. So what is the best way if people want to get in touch? Like where can they reach you? So if you want to follow me on Instagram or Cacao King, it's Cacao King, so CACAO KING on Instagram. And then on the website, cacaoking.com. And then if anyone has any questions, you can email us at service@cacaoking.com. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much, Andrew. It's been great speaking to you. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the bell button to be updated on all the latest videos. You can check me out on Instagram at David Bailey Life Coach.